January was filled with excitement and momentum based on the new single and the children's book. And then February, the National Day all over the world, everybody celebrates it. Groundhog's Day, but they don't celebrate it just because it's Groundhog's Day. They celebrate it because it's MJR Day, it's Mario Day, it's my birthday. And this year I turned 40. I know you want to pause that and you want to rewind it just to make sure, because I don't look like what I've been through. Baptized in the Jordan River, to go to the place where they had the marriage of Cana, the first miracle by Jesus, and to be able to experience that, and even to be able to sip some of the wine. My Lord, to be able to do that outside of baptism was to be able to go to the tomb. What an experience. The tour. January, February, now March. And now in March, when we got to the very beginning of March, my wife and I were able to accomplish something that we weren't sure if we could a few years ago, but we purchased our own house. Thanks to the wonderful 007 team here with Kristen and Daryl, and they helped us to be able to get our first home. So I started 2020 with lots of momentum, and I had intended for it to continue the entire year. But the same month that we got the house, a few weeks later, if not a week or 2 weeks later.
Health officials worry the number of cases could continue to soar.
Health officials worry there could be more cases in the U.S.
So with COVID-19, lots of changes happened. Lots of shifting of things I started to do to try to communicate with people that were, you weren't able to see physically. Created something called Sunday Night Chat. I mean, just every once in a while I had done it, but I was doing it more intently with having conversations with people, like while they were in the pandemic and how they were doing. And so I spoke to a few of my friends. I'm always grateful when they respond or when they say, hey, I'll do that, because I learned, my grandmother said a long time ago, people don't have to be nice. And when they are, they don't have to be nice to you. And I don't take that for granted. That in the midst of all the stuff that was going on, that they wanted to talk and have community, and I really appreciate that. In the midst of all the stuff that was going on, there was also a lot of political unrest, a lot of racial injustice that was happening. I remember when the George Floyd and how the video and the footage, how it gripped everybody, and how it shifted quickly, and it just continued. It didn't stop. To see the images and things that many of us thought, and maybe it was ignorance on my part and maybe on some others' part, that some things we thought we had progressed in and realized that we hadn't. And it's one thing for us to be in lockdown and quarantine, but to see the things that we were seeing, and people were getting a slap on the wrist, or you would see the anger and the unsettled thoughts and the void and emptiness in mothers' eyes and families' eyes, realizing that there was justice was not going to be served. I mean, it was a lot, and maybe because we were all locked in at home looking at it, it was a lot. And then to have my two youngest sons, two young sons that I have, one 13 and one, of course, is 20 in his beginning 20s, 23. So I mean, they're young, but I mean, compared to me, but just to see, and of course my daughter, and think about that, like, what world are we living in? Thinking that things had changed. Not being ignorant, but just thinking that there was some progression and realizing that there wasn't. So as I was interviewing people, I also got an opportunity to be interviewed. One of the connections that one of the members who's a part of our church, Bobby, who works at a news station here, she reached out to us when we had decided as the church to close down, and that was a great interview, just highlighting our decision. And then Dia Davison, who works at news station as well reached out to talk about racial injustice and how do we as leaders, how do we respond to it, how does it affect us, and all that type of stuff. So I was blessed by those two different opportunities that I had to be able to connect as well, to speak to a larger audience. So that was fun. In addition to our home ownership, we also celebrated 14 years of marriage. 14 years. She hasn't killed me in my sleep yet. I'm still alive to tell the story. So that she's learning and growing and developing great communication, and how you do that is all a learning curve. You never get it right. You just keep going on and on. It's we are each other's project, and we learn how to do this. But it's been a journey. 14 years. Jesus. Mercy! 14 years, and yet holding on. I had gotten to the point where I've been at Kentucky State University for a number of years now. I'm a graduate of a Kentucky State University, and I'm grateful for it. Lots of stories, lots of experiences that I've had there. Family forever and ever. So many of my great friendships and sisterhood and brotherhood from different people started there and continues, and I'm still friends with many of them. Their children are my nieces and nephews and cousins and uncles, and their parents pass away. It affects all of us. But I knew that it was time to transition out. I had been over the Kentucky State, the Gospel Ensemble, who are they're my family. Not just with these students that I had, but way before then. How the story of me becoming student director when I was a student, and then later on coming back to the choir after our beloved faculty member, Dr. Leon Richard, passed away. And I remember he passed away on a Monday. I believe it was a Monday or a Tuesday or something. And I remember getting a call from the university, Dr. Roosevelt Shelton, maybe on that Friday. And he said, hey, you know that Dr. Richard wanted you to take over the choir, which he had. He had told me that right before he passed away unexpectedly. But I was like, I don't do choirs no more. And they said, that's what he would want. And I said, I'll think about it. And I remember him saying, this is not for you to, I'm not asking you a question. I'm telling you, when you're coming, we're going to do an interview, but it's already yours. So I felt like my call, or my passion, or my assignment rather, was to restore the choir. It was hard for me to tell the students that day that I was going to be leaving the choir, that I was going to be leaving them. They cried, many of them. It was emotional. It was. And I remember telling them that it had nothing to do with them. It was just that I think that every leader should recognize when you've done what you can do. And sometimes a good thing can turn into a bad thing. And I felt that they needed to be on the road, they needed to be traveling, they needed to be growing and recruiting and different things. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that. Bittersweet, and I was torn, but I knew that it was time. Wanted them to excel far beyond what I was able to give them. I knew that they could do more and be more than what I can do, and someone else could take it and do better, and I can just be a footnote. It didn't matter. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure I did before I left, I said, hey, one of the things I wanted to do was make sure they had choir robes. And because of the administration there and believing in the choir, we were able to get robes, and they wore robes for the first time. I'm a little traditional in that regard because I still believe in choir robes, but they did. And, I'm gonna miss them. I do miss them. I miss them terribly. They were the joy of my life. family. They will always be family, and I wish them well. I know that they're going to do so much more, and some of them will go on far beyond a classroom and do greater things than they even thought imaginable. There's some great students that I had. Got a call and they said, hey, we would like to give you another opportunity. Would you be in this role? This scene is going to be actually with Chadwick and Mr. Dan Aykroyd. And I said, oh, okay. They said, you don't say anything. You're extra. You just sit in the car until he comes. When he comes, they're going to ask you how much you made. Not answer. I'm just supposed to nod my head. It's a rhetorical question, which he answers the question. And then I'm supposed to walk away, give him the keys as if I never existed. Well, he came up to me, he said, how much do you make? And I just looked at him because I wasn't supposed to say anything. And he said, so you're not gonna say nothing? And they said, he doesn't say anything. He's a nobody. He doesn't say anything. It went on for a few times. And Chadwick kept saying, don't you want to say something? And I was like, and finally he said, tell me you want to say something. 2021. Well, I've been writing. So I believe I will release another book probably towards the fall, whether there's going to be a devotional or a book. I don't know, but I'm just writing some new music. And actually, to me, it's not new because it's been there, I've been recording, I've been working on things silently. But hopefully that will be released very soon once I get through paying for it. So we can, you want to partner, praise the Lord.
DEBIT, credit, payday loans.
I'm sure that I'll be getting back in school as well, too. I can't shy away from it too long, so it's time for me to get back around that. I have something that I started in this year, Lex United, which bringing faith leaders and different organizations and community leaders together. So I'm going to build on that. January, 21 days of prayer with a lot of the different community leaders, and build on that even in a musical way and some other ways. So I'm excited about doing that. Years ago, I did something called Your Voice Matters, where I would bring together different directors and song leaders and stuff, and we would combine and celebrate each other's gifts and come together. So I'm leaning towards doing that, of course, when it's safe, but I'm looking towards doing some things. So I'm excited. So I think there's going to be a lot of MJR hashtags everywhere in 2021. I want to thank every last one of you who have supported me for years. You may have downloaded the new singles, See It, or Because of His Love, or you might have just listened to the music and downloaded it and streamed it for years. You might not even like my music, but you just supported it. Or those of you who got the children's book and you said, I just want to get it for my child. I don't know if he can write, but I'm just going to buy it. Those of you who invited me to your churches or had me sing somewhere or get on your Zoom or whatever, I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. I was always taught that people don't have to be nice, and when they are, they don't have to be nice to you. So thank you for everything that you continue to support. You comment under pictures on Instagram or Facebook, you share, you tune in to YouTube, whatever it is. Thank you. There are some things that I'm glad didn't happen the way I wanted them to happen, because if they would have, I don't think I would have appreciated the journey. I think I would have thought it was more about me than it was about the journey and the development that God wanted to develop in me. There's a line of the song that will be coming out soon. The song is called Purpose, but it says, before I was, He called me. Before I was, He chose me. I'm grateful that I am purposed. The reason why we do what we do and why I do what I do is because He called me. He chose me. Out of all the people He could have chosen, He chose you. And you're purposed. Let that be the driving force, even though the year hasn't been the way we wanted it to be. But that doesn't change the call, and it doesn't change God's choice. Thank you for being a part of my choice and the reason why I do what I do. Thank you for being my friends.